What if the entire Jedi Council was secretly brought back to Coruscant during Revenge of the Sith? That's the path I want to explore today, so I hope you enjoy. Please leave a like, and let's get right into it. The Jedi Council sat in session with only one seat still open. The seat was reserved for Anakin Skywalker, who was recently appointed to the Council by Chancellor Palpatine himself. It was an unprecedented move, but one that the Council was now using to their advantage. After Anakin was appointed, he was disappointed to not also be made a Jedi Master, and he'd been even more disappointed to learn of his secret mission, to spy on the Chancellor. But now, Anakin had alerted the Council that General Grievous had been found, and so the Council gathered, waiting only for Anakin now. And as they sat, waiting, Kit Fisto decided to speak up. He was rather uncomfortable with how things were going. Count Dooku was dead, and General Grievous was located, but the biggest mystery of this entire war was still the mysterious Sith Lord, Darth Sidious. He'd been waiting for something specific, clearly, and Fisto suspected it could have something to do with Anakin. So before Anakin arrived, Fisto spoke, saying that the Council needs to change course. He said the entire Jedi Council should be on Coruscant, but not openly. They should be hiding away on Coruscant, ready for anything. Fisto suggested that the Council act as if it's business as usual, but in reality they all wait in the shadows of Coruscant. The Council looked a bit confused collectively, but then Plo Koon spoke up as well, saying that this might be the right idea. Plo said that the Sith were hiding, waiting for an opportunity to emerge, and then Plo said they should give the Sith the exact opportunity, pretend to spread the Council around the galaxy, leaving Coruscant vulnerable, and be ready to strike when the Sith do reveal themselves. A few more Jedi spoke up, and the conversation really got going, until Windu eventually interjected. Windu said they will do this, but they cannot tell Skywalker. He must still bring information to Palpatine without knowing the plan, in hopes that the Sith use Palpatine or Skywalker to know when to strike. Yoda agreed, though it saddened him to see how desperate the Order had become. Desperate, but necessary, and Obi-Wan was uncomfortable keeping this a secret from Anakin, but he was not one to defy the Council in this very important moment. So he sat, and he watched, as Anakin entered the room. From here, the Council meeting played out as it normally would. Anakin revealed that Grievous was on Utapau, and then the Council nominated Obi-Wan to go to Utapau. In reality, a different master would be sent there, perhaps Master Kelleran Beck. But the Council put on the show, acting as if several members would be off-world for quite a while, trying to convince Anakin that the Council would be spread across the galaxy. The meeting concluded, and soon enough Anakin walked down to the Republic hangar to say goodbye to Obi-Wan. For Obi-Wan, this was pretty agonizing. He was lying straight to Anakin's face, and had to fight an internal battle to keep this secret. The question of what would Qui-Gon do would not leave his head. Eventually, Anakin left and Obi-Wan stayed in the hangar as his clone battalion took off for Utapau with a different group of Jedi Masters and Knights. Obi-Wan watched them go, and again he thought of Qui-Gon. Would he ever have lied to a former apprentice like this? Obi-Wan thought that he could almost feel his former master in the Force, but he took off to meditate alone, hidden away until he was called upon. Meanwhile, Yoda, Plo Koon, Ki-Adi-Mundi, and the rest of the Council members that were off-world secretly came back, replaced by other Jedi in their battlefields. And all the while, neither Anakin nor Palpatine had any real idea of what was going on. And all of the Council members gathered in secret throughout Coruscant. Anakin continued to have dreams and be worried about what was going to happen to Padme. He wished Obi-Wan was still here. He now wanted to ask his old master for guidance, but he was on Utapau. Soon enough, Anakin was called to the temple for a debriefing on the fight with Grievous. He took a speeder to the temple and found Windu waiting for him at a data table. Windu told Anakin that he just spoke with Commander Cody on Utapau. Cody said that Obi-Wan has engaged Grievous and the battle should be won very soon. And so now Windu looked to Anakin, telling him to tell Palpatine about this. His reaction will give the Council more information on his true intentions. Anakin took off to the Chancellor's office, while Windu went to the Council chambers, while everyone was waiting. Inside the Council chambers, he found all of the Jedi. One way or another, every single member of the Council had managed to discreetly return and prepare for what came next. They weren't sure how Palpatine would react to the news about Grievous, but they were certain about one thing. Together, as a council, they would tell Palpatine to give up emergency powers once Grievous was destroyed. It was risky, but a move they had to make for the Republic. Across the city in the Coruscant night, Anakin Skywalker was now flying his speeder back to the Jedi Temple. He couldn't believe what Palpatine had just told him. He was the Sith Lord this whole time. Anakin knew what he had to do, but he was afraid. He knew he had to tell Windu, and then Windu would go to arrest him. But Anakin thought that with so few council members on Coruscant, he would get to go with Windu to arrest the Sith Lord. And once Palpatine was arrested, Anakin would get the information to save Padme. He landed in the temple hangar, and Windu was nowhere to be found. Anakin sprinted through the temple, looking for any council members. Windu, Shaak Ti, Fisto, Kolar, Tin, anyone, but they were nowhere to be found. Eventually, Anakin reached the elevator to the council chambers, and figured they had to be in here. He got in the elevator, and began to rise through the temple. In the council chambers, Obi-Wan sat as they all waited. He could suddenly feel Anakin in the Force, and he felt extremely dark, like a cloud was over him, taking away all the light. This was not good. Something must have happened with Palpatine, and he was about to find out that the Jedi he trusted all lied to him, including Obi-Wan. The door opened, and Anakin looked around, with an expression suddenly mixed with sadness, confusion, and anger. And Obi-Wan knew the Council made a mistake by lying to him. Anakin was looking around to see not just Windu and a few others, but every single Council member. Yoda was supposed to be on Kashyyyk, Plo Koon on Cato Nemoidia, Obi-Wan on Utapau, and Windu spoke up, asking Anakin what he found. And Anakin, standing here stunned, remembered what Palpatine said, "Don't continue to be a pawn of the Jedi Council." And Anakin knew that Palpatine was right. He was used. They didn't trust him. They never trusted him. Anakin didn't know what to do. Palpatine was right. The next thing Anakin knew, Plo Koon was at his side, grabbing Anakin's wrist. Anakin looked down and realized that he was holding his lightsaber. He didn't even realize he grabbed it. Plo said that the Council was sorry for deceiving him, but it was the only way to get this necessary information. And then he asked what Anakin had found out. Anakin was in the middle of everything. He was the man who could end this war, and he hated both sides, Jedi and Sith right now. But he calmed himself enough to take a seat. And after sitting, he told the Council the truth. Palpatine is the Sith Lord that they've been looking for. The Council began murmuring to each other as Mace and Yoda both sat back in their chairs, scratching at their chins. This was a possibility everyone had suspected, but they were all still extremely surprised it was true. And after a bit longer, Windu said that they may not have a choice in how this situation is handled. They must destroy the Sith, once and for all. Anakin spoke up now for the first time in a minute, bewildered that Windu would say this. Palpatine was a Sith Lord, but they couldn't just kill him. Then Anakin accidentally slipped up, saying that he is the only one who can save Padme. And now the Council was silent. Everyone except Yoda and Obi-Wan were very confused about this notion. Why did Skywalker need Palpatine to save Senator Amidala? And then Yoda asked that the Council be dismissed. Prepare to head to Palpatine's office. He will meet them momentarily, but first he needs a moment alone with Anakin. The Council left, with Obi-Wan being the last one out, looking at Anakin, but Anakin refused to look back at him. He still felt betrayed by his old master. And after they left, Yoda approached Anakin, asking if his nightmares were about Padme. Anakin said they were, and he knew how this sounded. This type of attachment was against the Jedi Code, but Anakin didn't care for a lecture right now, and Yoda didn't have time to give one. Yoda understood now that Palpatine was trying to bring Anakin over to his side. His endgame was Anakin Skywalker. It was clear now that Anakin would do whatever it takes to save Padme. That's why he wanted to be a Jedi Master, to learn how to do it. Yoda told Anakin that he must allow the Council to do this. Remove the head of the snake, and the dark feeling will fade away. And after that, perhaps Anakin will be made a Jedi Master. He'd killed Dooku, he'd led the Clone War, and he'd trained a Padawan to knighthood before that Padawan denied to become a knight. Now, he has brought the information about Palpatine being a Sith Lord to the Council, despite the dark side pulling strongly to him. Yoda told Anakin he was strong, and told him to wait in the Council chambers. And then the Grand Master left. As he did, he took a moment to reach into the Force. Yoda called upon an old friend who only he knew about, and Yoda asked the old friend to be there for Anakin in this moment. Then, Yoda took off to the hangar, boarding the transport with all of the Council members. They took off for Palpatine's office. Palpatine was sitting in his chair, and he was becoming impatient. Where were they? The Jedi, Anakin, everyone. What was taking so long? He tried reaching out to Anakin in the Force, but something seemed to be blocking him. Someone strong in the light side of the Force. And Anakin stood in the Council chambers, holding his comlink to his face. Tears were sliding down his cheek, and he was moments away from contacting Palpatine with this comlink. But before he could, a new voice spoke to him, one that Anakin recognized, and Anakin turned around quickly to see the blue, transparent spirit of Qui-Gon Jinn. Anakin thought he might be going crazy, but then Qui-Gon assured him that this was real. Anakin was feeling so many emotions, but Qui-Gon was one of the few people that he would actually talk to about it. Anakin said he felt lost. He needed to save Padme. He would do anything. The Council didn't trust him. Qui-Gon smiled, saying they were alike in that way. The Council never really trusted him either, but that didn't stop him from choosing the right path. Qui-Gon said that staying in the light side is much harder than choosing the dark. And then he told Anakin that he truly was the chosen one, and by bringing this information about Palpatine to the Council, he has begun to fulfill his destiny of helping to destroy the Sith. And then he told Anakin that because he was the chosen one, he didn't need anyone but himself to save Padme. He was stronger deep down than Palpatine, Yoda, any of them. He could save Padme. And Anakin knew he was right, sitting down in a chair and talking everything out with Qui-Gon. He didn't need the Sith. He didn't even need the Jedi. He only needed himself at the end to save his wife. And across the city, Darth Sidious watched in anger as almost the entire Jedi Council walked into the room. Yoda pulled out his lightsaber, and the rest of the Jedi followed. Soon, the room was lit by the hue of their lightsabers, as they said they knew what Palpatine was, how he was playing both sides of the war, and therefore was deemed worthy of execution for his crimes. Sidious snarled, still unable to find Anakin in the Force, as if someone was blocking his presence. Then, he pulled out a lightsaber of his own, but he knew he couldn't win this fight. Sidious reached to the ceiling and used the Force with his full strength to pull all of it down on top of the Jedi. Every single one of the Jedi in this room now, Plo Koon, Ki-Adi-Mundi, Shaak-Ti, all of them were using the power they could to keep the building from collapsing. The strength Palpatine used to break the ceiling was starting a chain reaction. Walls were starting to collapse, and the debris was slamming into the floor, causing the entire building to be at risk. And as all of the Jedi were using the Force to keep it together, Sidious made his move. He quickly spun through the air at Ki-Adi-Mundi, catching him off guard and killing him, then Stas Ali, then Agen Kolar. Through the debris, Yoda could see this happening, and he took a risk. He called the Windu, and the two of them let go of their collapsing building to take on Sidious. In the Council chambers, Anakin quickly got to the window and looked across the city to see that the building the Jedi and Palpatine were in was collapsing. Debris and smoke were escaping from it, and Qui-Gon told Anakin to trust his instincts before he faded away. Anakin closed his eyes to think. He was the highest-ranking Jedi in the entire temple as the last remaining Council member, and he acted. Anakin sprinted to the temple beacon and alerted every single Jedi on Coruscant to organize search and rescue teams with all the available clone troopers, and in minutes, all the available Jedi and clones were heading to the building to rescue citizens and try to hold it together. Yoda and Windu battled Sidious in the debris, while the rest of the surviving council members held up the building as best they could. The battle moved through the dust, red, green, purple shadows moving through the air, and Anakin flew through the air in his speeder, landing it right outside Palpatine's office. Inside, he could see the lightsabers through the dust, and he acted as best he thought. Yoda was moving through the room towards the red lightsaber, and as he was about to re-engage the fight, a new lightsaber emerged. The blue lightsaber of Anakin Skywalker went right through the back of Sidious, cutting through him, killing him on the spot. Yoda, Windu, and the rest of the Jedi made eye contact with Anakin. Yoda nodded and promised to help with Padme when this was all over. And through the clearing dust, dozens of transports full of Jedi and clones could be seen flying towards the building. Thousands of clones were deployed on the ground to get all of the citizens out, while hundreds of Jedi moved through the building, using the Force to keep as much of it in place as they could, until everyone was evacuated. After about an hour of strenuous work, everyone was evacuated and the Jedi let go. They were all exhausted and they took off running after letting go, jumping through windows into available transports until they were all safe and out. Then the building, empty of everyone, collapsed a lot more, but they were safe, and Sidious's body was buried inside. Over the next few days, the war would end as the Jedi would present evidence to the Senate of Palpatine being a Sith, working with the Separatists. The Separatist leaders would be hunted down and arrested, the droids would be shut down, Grievous was destroyed by Master Kelleran Beck and a group of Jedi Knights on Utapau, and soon the Republic was restored. Anakin spoke much more with Yoda, and Padme eventually gave a safe birth. The nightmares Anakin was having died with Palpatine, and Padme was saved. Anakin chose to leave the Jedi Order, at least for now. It was not something he cared to be in any longer, but he forgave Obi-Wan. His old master was just doing what the Council ordered, and Obi-Wan would be a frequent visitor to the home of Anakin, Padme, and their children on Naboo. And folks, that is where our story ends for today. I hope you enjoyed. I liked writing this one. I liked doing this. I hadn't really done a whole council stay on Coruscant like this, so hope you enjoyed. Appreciate ya. Please leave a like, and I'll see you on the next video.